This is episode 8 of building Ember CRM, and in this episode we're finally going to get around to fleshing out our people, routes, and controllers. So we already have the company routes and controllers working. And in this lesson we're going to do a lot of copy pasting, and once again this is not a tutorial on code organization, but we just want to try to get something to work. So I have our company's routes, and I'm just going to copy and paste all of those and swap them over to be people routes. So change the company's route to people, and then we're going to search the store for all persons. Change our company route to be a person route, and then we're going to look for a single person. And then since we named our variables generically, this all still makes sense. So let's swap this out for people, and then we're going to create a new person, and then the template we're going to render is going to be person/_edit, and then both our before model and deactivate methods still make sense. So let's save those, and then let's go to our controller. And then what we could do is we could copy these and do the same thing. But to make this go a little quicker, I'm going to cheat a little bit. Say person controller equals app company controller. And that's just going to get the person controller the same exact functionality as this. And so we'll do that for the app people new controller as well. So now our person and people new controller are hooked up, and we might need to change those and flesh those out more in the future, but let's just leave it at that for now. And then we need to add our new templates. So if I go to my Scratchpad, I want to yank my people template, person template, and then my two partials for both edit and non-edit mode for the person. Grab these, paste them in here, and then we'll kind of quickly go over this. So once we visit /people in the app, we're going to render this people template, and this sets up the left side buttons. So the top one is going to link to our people.new route, and then we're iterating through each person model we're getting from the store, aka our API. And then I'm going to change this to say if full name. So if we have a full name, I want to display a link to the person route, pass it the current person model in the iteration by using this, and then just use a normal class. And we want to display the full name. And by doing that, I notice that once we go to the person new route, it's going to feed a new person model to our controller, and that's going to show up in that sidebar because as of now this gets evaluated to look like something like this: undefined space undefined, which is no good. So we can fix that by saying first name equals this get first name. And we'll grab the last name. And then in here we'll say if we have a first name, return the first name, else nothing. And then we're gonna add a space and do the same thing for our last name. And call trim. Yeah. Okay, so that should work a little better. Now, back to our template code. So this sets up the left links, and then now we need to look at the person template, and we're doing the exact same thing as our company template. If the controller is in edit mode, we want to show the person edit partial, and if we're not, we want to say the person show partial. So if I update this, that'll work, and then we'll go through the partials. So in my person show partial, I'm referencing our dynamic full name property, our dynamic location property, and then the company I'm using a link to, and I'm linking to the company route to display the single company model, and in the link I'm displaying the company's name, ending the link to. And then we're doing the same thing for task as we are in the company template. We're just displaying a list. So we're saying we're iterating through each of the tasks on the model. And you'll remember, since person inherits from taskable, it gets this task property, and that's what we're using right here. We're saying each task, and we can name this to whatever and use it within this each loop. And then we're saying if the task has a subject, we want to display it, and then I'm going to yank this out of here for now. So that has to do with displaying the task in a modal, and we'll get to that in a future episode. So if we have a task, if the subject exists, let's display that in a list item. And then I'm going to yank this out of here because it also has to do with adding a task, and we're not there yet. And then finally in this template we have our familiar edit button, which sends the edit action, and that just puts us in edit mode on the controller. Alright, and now in our person edit partial, we're displaying our message board partial, and then we have a bunch of inputs. So the first one, we're binding the first input to the first name property, and then we just have a bunch of your normal HTML attributes. The second one, we're binding to last name, email, city, state, and then for the company, we're just spitting out the company name. And then I'm going to remove this because that has to do with the select to widget that we have yet to implement. So I'm going to remove that because we'll get to that in a future episode. And then I'm going to save it. And then down here we have our save and cancel buttons, which send the save and cancel actions to the controller. So we'll save that, go back to our app, refresh it, and see if we have any errors. Make sure everything works. Okay, so if we visit the people route, we get a list of people. Perfect. And let's try to add a new person. We're still getting that blank button down here, which isn't what we want. I'm not going to worry about that for now, but let's just test it out. Joe Bob at Gmail. We're in Dallas, Texas, and then since this is a new person, they're not attached to a company, and we have yet to implement that widget. So if we click save, it should issue a post request, and we get a 201 back and a save successful. And then let's test our dismiss action. So if we navigate to another person model and go to edit them, that disappears. Perfect. And then let's test altering their name, navigating away, and those changes get rolled back. And then let's try changing this and pressing cancel, and those changes get rolled back. And then finally, let's try to update an existing person model. And save. Perfect. Can dismiss that. And let's make sure our link to works for the company. So if we click on Foobar Industries, and you can see that our task just got loaded in because that was an asynchronous request that got issued. And we got linked to our company just fine, and let's make sure it works going the other way. So if we click on a person, we get taken to the person. Perfect. Exactly what we want. All right. So that wraps up this episode. In the next episode, we'll look at hooking up and creating our select to widget.